I am joined by Dimitri Lascaris. He is running to be the Green Party of Canada leader. The Green Party, in some ways, has been criticized as being eco-capitalist, or at least viewed that way in some sense. Do you see that as a problem? Do you want to go towards a more, eco-socialist direction? How do you view the Green Party's ability to grow while also addressing these major issues and being bold? How should they do that?
Well, I identify as an eco-socialist, and I'm not shy about saying so. I don't run away from the S word like the NDP did under, I believe it was Jack Layton. Our party has never, at least in the last 15 years, embraced the concept of socialism or eco-socialism. So I want to be very clear about that. I don't think that the majority of the party's members find that problematic because polling indicates otherwise. There was a poll done by Forum Research last year which asked Canadians about their attitudes towards socialism. 58% of Canadians overall said they had a positive view of socialism. In the Green Party, it was 69%. And something in the range of 60% had a negative view of capitalism. And even in the Liberal Party, there was 74% had a positive view of socialism, although less than the majority had a negative view of capitalism. So there is a lot of sympathy and comfort with the concept of socialism. It is, however, true that within the Green Party, there is a vocal and vigorous opposition to any kind of socialist program coming from persons you could fairly describe as eco-capitalists. And I do think they have a bit of an outsized role in the leadership of the party. I think that's true, by the way, of all the parties. I think the NDP leadership doesn't reflect the base. It's well to the right of the base. I think that's true of the Liberal Party. It's not unique to our party. But that is a resistance that's going to have to be overcome. I'm aware it's there. And I think the way to overcome it is just to be true to my principles and speak to people's hearts and minds, and their votes will follow.
What do you see as the major barrier to what you just described? Like, why are the bases of the NDP and the Greens especially, why are they so different than from what the platform or the leadership fights for? What is the main barrier to that change from happening? Why aren't these parties actually in this moment in time controlled by what the base of the parties and what the people in general actually want?
I think it's, look, one of the most profound experiences I had in my life was reading Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent. A friend of mine who's now the chair of my strategy committee recommended to me in 2006 that I read that book, and I just was overwhelmed with a sense of indignation when I put it down because I realized I had been lied to. And the media the corporate media in this country, which I've dealt with extensively, are deceiving the public about many things, including, majority views about things like socialism, wealth redistribution, fundamental changes to the laws and regulations protecting workers in our society. They've convinced us, first of all, to misunderstand the very nature of who we are. They want us to believe that we are rational maximizers of our self-interest, that we are more interested in our own aggrandizement and enrichment than we are in the collective good, that we are inherently competitive, that the public doesn't have an appetite for a revolutionary radical program. And it's just not true. And so when you get to discussions about who's going to lead the party, there are all these misconceptions which have been fed by the corporate media quite consciously and deliberately and very effectively about what can and cannot work in Canadian politics. And so you end up, and also there's the role of money in politics. Even though we're not as bad as the United States, not nearly as bad, still we have these donation limits and a set of election financing rules that allow the affluent to have a disproportionate say in who actually gets to lead these parties at the end of the day. So if you look in the fundraising numbers that just came out, for example, we just received them 2 hours ago for the leadership contest. And by the way, we're very happy with them. Out of the 8 candidates who remain in the race, we are in second place.
Nice.
We more than doubled our fundraising in August over the prior 5 months. We're still significantly behind Annemie Paul, but we actually ran neck and neck with Annemie in fundraising. And you look at the average donation size, which is something that I just bore down into before I got on this call. The centrist candidates, David Murner, who just came over to the Green Party last year from the Liberals after being with the Liberals for 30 years, Glenn Murray, who was the Environment and Transport Minister in Ontario under McGuinty and Wynne, and another centrist candidate, have much higher average donation numbers than we do, well above the numbers that we have. And still have much less money. in the bank than we do. So we are attracting people who are not affluent by and large, and we're attracting them in much larger numbers than they are. I mean, we have I think we have almost 3 times as many donors as Glenn Murray and well over 3 times as many donors as David Murner. So our campaign is not appealing to the affluent. I mean, if you want to get into our platform, it'll become apparent pretty quickly why that's the case. We have a very, very strong, bold, redistributive platform. But the numbers the number of donors and the overall result shows that we are really resonating with the public, and that we ultimately, I think, are going to be able to overcome the role of big money in politics in this campaign. I'm certainly hopeful. I think we're in a great position to do that.
You said you're an eco-socialist, but what is your approach to, say, like a wealth tax, or your approach to labor rights, and how would you view those issues differently than what's been done in the past?
These are subjects that are very dear to my heart. I don't think we should have billionaires in this country. I don't get that. Why do we allow people to accumulate? 10 people in this country control, last time I checked, $65 billion of wealth. And we have tens of thousands of people living in the streets and millions, many of them children, living in poverty, one of the world's wealthiest countries. That's outrageous. It's obscene. I want to tax billionaires out of existence. And so I proposed a wealth cap, and it's quite high. Arguably, it should be much lower, of $500 million. And every dollar of gain above that limit would be taxed at a rate of 100%. That's a wealth tax, not this cute little 1% thing that Jagmeet Singh is bragging about, which is only going to very modestly slow the rate at which extreme wealth is accumulated.
And they still fight him on that, by the way. Like that's the thing with the debate in this country is so crazy, where you can't even mention wealth tax, even if it's a little tiny thing. But anyways.
Yeah, and that's just really the beginning. I mean, we need to have a higher top marginal tax rate. It was for much of the post-World War II period in excess of 90% in Canada and the United States. So I'm calling for one that's 75%. We don't have an estate tax in this country. We're the only G7 country that doesn't have an estate tax. So I'm calling for that. We lose $75 billion a year, the federal government, to giving preferential tax treatment to investment income. Who has money to invest? The affluent do. Working Canadians, by and large, don't have significant funds to invest. They don't get to benefit from this preferential treatment. I think we should eliminate it almost entirely and use that money to provide support to the most vulnerable members of our society. On workers' rights, very quickly, I want to see a cap on the spread between executive and worker compensation. I'm proposing one of 10-to-1. Mandatory representation of workers on the boards of public companies, which has been the case in Germany for some time. And workers' claims being prioritized in corporate insolvencies so their pensions don't get wiped out, when a company fails and all the scraps are given to the banks and the hedge funds. So when my workers' rights platform came out, Sid Ryan, who is, as you probably know, a major labor leader in this country, was the former president of the Ontario Federation of Labor. He endorsed me, he endorsed my platform, and said he's not seen anything like this from the federal NDP or any provincial NDP in his lifetime. And this is somebody who was an NDP candidate and who almost ran to be the leader of the NDP. So I think that that's where the real electoral promise lies, is supporting and invigorating and motivating the millions of working Canadians who have been left behind in this era of neoliberalism and global trade. So please do go and visit our website, especially the platform section. You can learn a lot more about this wonderful platform we put forward. And by the way, this is a group effort. I have people, incredible people on my platform committee, like Radhika Desai, who's a leftist political economist from the University of Manitoba, Alan Freeman, who was an economic advisor to the Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone. Tremendous people, and we've got a great platform. So check it out on teamdimitri.ca.